Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, everywhere. We are happy to be with you on the second week of our global mentorship by a lovely volunteer team of Chevening current scholars in the UK. For today's session, we have three fantastic leaders of three big communities: Sky from Indonesia, Abdelrahman from Egypt, and Anna from Moldova. Before I give them chance to introduce themselves, I just want to remind you some points regarding the mentorship. We have already made a document, a Word document, an online Word document. You can annotate your comments and you can add your questions if you have already done your interview or if someone who you know have already done their interview. It will be beneficial and helpful for everyone to feel confident that what's the structure of the questions for this year, because for each year sometimes it happens that the Chevening prioritize the questions, and hopefully some people have already added some lovely questions, and we are planning to add more questions today and next days. So please consider this when you have your interview, maybe today or maybe next days. It's important to remember that we all have to help each other. We are trying to this project is about 250 people, okay? So we're planning to give chance to everyone to be accepted from all countries, and it's not impossible. We will be mentioning the results by June, okay? The results of this mentorship. So we're gonna start with Sky. Sky, the style of our meeting is like that for everyone. The first 40 minutes is about the Cheveners experience and their best tips for you for the interview, and the next 40 minutes will be an open discussion, and you can direct your questions to our scholars. Go ahead, Sky.
Okay, thank you, dear. Can you hear my voice clearly? Yeah, okay. I suspect that Dr. hasn't got his coffee or breakfast because like he started this meeting with a very low spirit. I don't know why.
Yeah. I'm planning to have my breakfast. It's about it's about lunchtime.
So everyone from all countries in the world, many countries in the world, this is now is 12 p.m. in the UK, so it's basically lunchtime. So for Dr. Ewis and Anna, hi, nice to meet you here finally. We haven't met in person, but we are so excited to actually be able to meet in the Chevening Summit later on the third week of March, I suppose, right? So if everyone's here are, passed through the interview session and you become the Chevening cohort for 2020 and 23, you're gonna be able to meet all the Cheveners all over the world in the Chevening Summit, right? So we are so excited. Okay, so first of all, thank you for inviting me, and also allow me to volunteer to share my experience as one of the Chevening awardee, that be able to speak, share my experience in nailing the interview. Well, honestly, if I reflect back to my interview experience, if I can give a score from my interview performance from 1 to 10, maybe my performance was only 5. But who knows? Sometimes you feel like you didn't make it in the interview, but you make it. Sometimes you feel like, oh, my interview was amazing. I think I'm gonna get this, but maybe the result is not like what you expect. We've never know. But what we should do is that we prepare our interview well. So what I'm going to do here is actually give you 4 tips that I believe helps me a lot in navigating my interview preparation. So then I was at least ready to do the interview, even though I wasn't really satisfied with my interview back then. Okay, but before that, maybe a brief introduction about me. So my full name is SEKARTIYASA KUSUMASTUTI. I bet that you will not even remember the name. So just call me Sky. When you go outside, you look up, then you can remember me. Ah, that's Sky, someone that I met in the global Chevening mentorship. So I'm studying in Lancaster University, majoring in applied linguistics and TESOL. TESOL is teaching English as second or other languages. So basically, I'm a classmate of DR. So what I'm studying is we learn a lot about the theoretical foundation combined with the practical design thinking to become a research-informed English teacher, and with additional edge in linguistics. So that's what we are studying. So my activities so far in the UK, I've been enjoying my study. There are some ups and downs as well. I'm not gonna lie to you that, oh, living in the UK is amazing all the year. No, there are some storm, the weather is cold, every day is breezy, sometimes it's not sometimes, most of the times are raining, but I've been enjoying so much studying here because what I'm studying is basically quite hardcore applied linguistics, studies, and I enjoy it because I met lots of inspiring professors. I network with many friends from different countries, and it really, opened up the horizon, especially for me as an educator. And I hope I can wrap this all experience and bring back to my country. Aside from the studying, of course, I've been traveling to many cities in the UK. I've been traveling to Edinburgh as well, but I didn't met Ewis there. So maybe next time I should visit that again. Okay, so I can meet you there. And I've been also volunteering in a classroom research project that my professor is working on. So far, I really enjoy the play hard, study hard moment in the UK. And I hope all of you that are here can also experience the same thing. And before Chevening, I've been teaching in a multiple classroom settings, so in the language institutes, in schools, universities, and my last professions during the pandemic is I was a corporate language trainer. So my students were not actually like students, they are business people. Those are my students from my last profession. And anyway, if I'm not really good at talking about myself, so if you want to know about me, we can connect, through LinkedIn. I dropped my LinkedIn profile on the chat, and I hope you can just connect through that and poke me, say hi. I would like to, be happy to actually connect with you all here. Okay, so let's go down to the tips. But before that, yesterday, in the evening, Dia asked me oh, Sky, before you talk about your top tips, you should explain what's your impact in your country and why does Chevening chose you? And I was like, what is it? It got me a night to think about it, right? Impact. And also, why does Chevening chose me? Difficult question. Because I always believe that I'm nobody special. I'm just an ordinary individual. I'm just a teacher. I don't change the world. I don't stop the war. I don't end poverty. But throughout my career trajectory, I invest. I invest on people in terms of knowledge, critical thinking, and also self-development, so that the future generation might change the world, might stop the war, and also might end poverty. Why I tell you this? Because I want you to notice that people in Chevening cohort do lots of different things. We should not quantify the impact only based on the amount or the number or the scale or the level of what they are doing. So every single action that you did in the past and it create impact, even though you feel it's small, it doesn't resonate like in an international level, do not belittle those potential, because those all experience can be your competitive edge to sell yourself in the interview. You all who are here, the shortlisted candidates, if any of you still feel like small, feel intimidated, feel ordinary, or maybe you feel like you're not special, you need to release yourself from this kind of paradigm. Before walking to the interview room, or maybe if it's online, before clicking the link to go to your interview, you should like release yourself from this kind of insecurity. You should come to the interview without doubt about yourself. And on the other hand, you should also be respectful to the committee and also to other candidates by not being overconfident. And that is actually my first tips. You should not doubt about yourself, but you should not also be overconfident. Maybe this tip sounds like meh, or like, yeah, we know, but trust me, I've heard many stories about many great and potential candidates. They did not pass the interview just because they did not have the right mental condition during the interview. Maybe they are overconfident. They did many mock interviews and, oh, I think I got great feedback, so they become so overwhelmed, or they're feeling like, oh, I want this scholarship so much, super excited, so they could not like control, their emotion or something. Then it will screw the interview. So no matter how great your background is, right, or your profile arts, for example, you need to have the right mindset. That's the most important. And that will help you a lot throughout the interview session. That's my first tips. Now let's go to my second tips. I'm going to start by analyzing what are the interview's objectives in the Chevening scholarship selection. I think there are two main objectives here. Number one is to see if you are the whole package of individual that fits Chevening criteria. And number two is to see if you are the person you wrote in the essay. Okay, now imagine that these interviewers have to interview many candidates. The embassy, the people from the SCDO, for example, they have to like interview many people in the day. And they know that every shortlisted candidate is incredible and potential and awesome. Now, you should ask yourself, how can I be stand out? I think it's a very classic question. I've seen the videos of many mentorship and many people always ask the same question. How can I be stand out in the interview? Actually, the answer is simple. There is most practical things that you can do. You have to help the interviewers to see that you are the fitting candidates. So in the interview, you need to help the interviewers to see you. And second of all, you have to maximize the interview time to show you, and don't spend time to explain something that will not help you, helping the selection committee to choose you. So here, how you maximize your 30 minutes interview is very important. So how to make it compact, how to begin with something strong. That would be my second tips, which is introduction. I remember when I did my interview, the person from the embassy say, okay, I'll give you 2 minutes to introduce yourself, But, you know, the introduction is basically just to make you feel relaxed. It seems like introduction is just for formality. Actually, no. You can start from your introduction. You can start strong from your introduction. That's why, if you want to practice your interview, you need to prepare a short yet selling introduction about yourself. The function of this short yet selling introduction is also to set up the mood of the interview. Imagine if you appear so nervous, or you appear not well prepared, or maybe you appear too excited, and then, you know, they can tell from your eyes, from your gesture and stuff. It won't help you in the 30 minutes. The 30 minutes will feel like hell. But if you are able to, you know, introduce yourself with the short yet selling things, and you are able to set up the moods of the beginning of the interview, then the rest will be yours. The ball will be in your court throughout the interview. That's important. Let me give you an illustration. So when it comes to introduction, you might come up with something basic like your name, where you're from, and maybe your background of education or professional background, right? But in my interview, I try to make a compact introduction that will sell me out. Like, I tell them my full name and my nickname. I tell them I have 8 years teaching experience. I've been teaching in 2 different countries, Indonesian and Thai, but I'm also teaching online for Japanese and Taiwanese students. And then I was active in a debating community. I was a national parliamentary debating coach. And I also explain what I want to study. And I also emphasize that I already have my LOA in Lancaster and also Newcastle universities. So why I designed my introduction this way? Several reasons. A, because that is my selling point. In my application, I think my strength would be how with my background as an educator, I have lots of experience in helping students in their self-development. So I emphasize my selling point on that part. Your selling point could be many things. It depends on what you are written in your application, right? Maybe about your place of origin. You can mention your province, where certain issue has become the public scrutiny, and the reason why you want to study because it's relevant to that. Maybe you can introduce a bit about your interests. Oh, I'm a huge fan of the Beatles. Oh, I'm a hardcore fan of Harry Potter's, something that resonates with the, you know, British culture, right? I'm a museum nerd, for example, stuff like that. You can also talk about your involvement in organization. I'm a part of a Jogja debating forum. I've been here for 9 years and stuff. Or maybe your other activities, like, for example, I'm a digital marketer, but I also run a circular fashion community in my hometown. That's why I'm interested to study sustainable business management, for instance. So you can start to craft your own story, your personality at the very first beginning, in the very first 2 or 5 minutes of your interview. That's my first reason why I do that. And the second reason is that I want the interview to talk further. I don't want them to ask me about the general profile about me. I want them to ask more about my debating coach experience, for example, of my organization involvement. They don't need to ask me again about my working experience, because somehow in my short introduction, I already introduced that. I want the interview to grow further, so I have lots of space to demonstrate who am I to the interviewers. Reason number 3 is that I want to light up the friendly mood. I basically tell them why, even though my name is SEKARTIYASA KUSUMASTUTI, but I prefer to be called as Sky. And there is a story that is relevant with my identity as a teacher, that will resonate with my experience as an international educator. So I tell them that story briefly. That it has a purpose, that I want to, light up the mood. I want to say that, I'm not nervous, even though actually in my head like boom, 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 but I'm not nervous, I handle this. Want to project that confident, yeah, because, yeah, that was my strategy, and that works psychologically for me and also for the interviewer, because if you appear boring, they will also have the standard question that they may have on the list. But if you show your interesting personality at the beginning, they will also be interested to know you more. And number 4, if you already obtain LOA, I suggest you to actually put that in the beginning, because obtaining LOA will, giving an additional point, additional consideration, because it means that you are well prepared for this scholarship and you're ready to pursue your education. Okay, so it's very important to say that you have a LOA already. Remember, in crafting your introduction, you have to make sure that it signifies something. Do not say something that is wishy-washy. It doesn't mean anything to you, or it doesn't help you to magnify your profile. So make sure that your introduction signifies your profile and magnify your characteristic, and make it concise. Okay, prepare that. That's my second tips. Now let's move on to my third tips, which is happening during the interview. I think it's a very classic suggestion. You might heard this from different scholars already, but I think it's really, helped me to start the practice of my interview, which is know the content of your essays by heart. Not just read it, but you really need to know it by heart, because the interviewer will make a question that is not far from what you have written on your on your application, and seize the opportunity to explain further in your interviews. Tell stories, give additional information that you did not write on your essays. For example, in my essays, I focus more on how, as a teacher, I want to contribute in the post-pandemic education in my country. And yeah, all of the 4 essays are crafting my profile as an educator. But I didn't tell them that I actually have a restaurant in my hometown. So in the interview, I got the opportunity to say that actually I also have a keen interest on the sustainability. That's why last year I built a restaurant which implements minimum waste management, and I also use food as a universal language to promote the discourse on sustainability in my hometown. I didn't put that fact in my essay, but I utilized the interview to actually show them that I am a multidimensional individual. I have not just interest in one particular areas of expertise, but I also have other interests that might support my area of expertise. So hopefully you get that chance to actually explain more about you in your interview. And also, you need to anticipate several questions drawing from your essays. Number 1, you have to aware of the current issues around your area of study in your country, or maybe internationally. For example, if you are studying international law, of course, you need to know the current issues and stuff. And because they want you to, they might ask you that, and they want you to go back to your country and contribute in your country regarding to that issue, right? And how you are going to tap into that issue. They want you to tell them how you are going to utilize the Chevening resources, like the cohort, the international exposure, maybe the alumni network, the educational system, the university resources and stuff, how this will be useful to achieve your goal, to help you overcoming the issue that you promote in your essay and also in the interview. And I also want you to anticipate, know the practical sense of leadership in your area of expertise. Remember, the practical sense of leadership. Okay, for example, okay, In my case, I'm an educator, so leadership in education. I need to be able to come up with something that is really practical, really real in my area. So when I graduated from the university, I have a practical step-by-step ideas what I'm going to do next. That would, that would make you convincing in a sense that what you are going to do next after this Chevening, your long-term goal or maybe short-term goal. So you need to anticipate this kind of question coming from the interviewer. And the last tips for me is about having supporting systems. Do mock interview with anyone you trust. If you have a connection with the Chevening alumni, that will be great. Attending this kind of event, that will be awesome. Or if you only have some best friends, nobody's from the interview circle, the Chevening circle, you only have one or two best friends, do mock interview with them. Because that's also what happened to me. I didn't join this kind of event. I only, watch some videos from the YouTube. I just write my essay and also practice my interview with my best friend, and we are sharing to each other. And it was very helpful, okay? And it's very important because those kind of supporting system will also support us when, in case we didn't make it. Not everyone is lucky to get into the Chevening scholarship for the first shot. Many of my friends got the fourth or fifth, attempts to finally get into my cohort. And you need to also remember that in the Chevening competition, it's very competitive, right? In the Chevening scholarship, it's very competitive. You're not just competing with the candidates from your own country, but also from other countries. So make sure that you have a supporting system that will help you, come back stronger in next year. Okay, if you didn't go well in the interview, it's not the end of the day. If you get rejection letter, it's also not the end of the world for you. It might be a new beginning for you to actually, revise your essay, do well in the next interview. So supporting system is very important. That's all the tips for me. So I will give the floor to DR. Thank you.
Thank you, Sky. Thank you, Sky. It was a lovely experience. I knew some new information about you. So when I came to Indonesia, I'm safe. I have restaurant to eat something, to try new things. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Abdelrahman. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, DR, and it was great listening to your experience, Sky. Actually, yeah, it was very insightful, and actually some stuff I didn't know that we even can do, or I wish if I already have some of these steps and tricks before my interview. But yeah, it was really good. Thank you so much, and thank you, DR, and everyone for inviting me. It's a great opportunity, guys. And just to the spirit now, I think it's perfect. However, just to give a big shout to everyone, guys. If you already made it to the interview, this is a very big accomplishment. This is a huge step. So woo woo for everyone. And just to tell you a small glimpse into what happened to me. I already applied for Chevening 7 times. So she already exactly, I was applying for Chevening since 2016. Every year I was rejected. Every year, in February, I just I'm waiting for this email of "we regret to inform you that you didn't make it to the next step." And to be honest, after the third time or fourth time, it has to be a habit. It's just yeah, I'm waiting for this email that comes between 10th or 14th. I don't know, maybe sometimes it's just I get it at the end of the month, but it's the same email every year. It's just yeah, I just see it. Maybe I'm working, I have a meeting in my work, just oh, I have been rejected. Okay, perfect. And then the next email, and that's it. And this year, I had a decision for the 7th time. This is the last time I'm applying for Chevening. I'm not applying anymore. And maybe I felt like I'm giving up. And suddenly, oh, you have been shortlisted for the interview, and yeah, Yeah, exactly. So what just like I can tell you here, it's a big thing, a big step. This is my first time to reach the interview, and I have been awarded like the Chevening award just like with the first, I mean, round. Haven't been like into the reserved or anything. So like, I mean, just like 1 year, everything changed. So best of luck to all of you. And just like to make a very short notice, or sorry, short note about like what the stage that you are in right now. Mostly you are not almost there, you are already there. So don't like, for everyone here, just like don't say that I'm almost there, just like the interview. You are already there. All what they just like need to do is to make sure that the guy or the person who are they just like seeing in the essay through your essays is the same person who will interview later. So like through the essays and through the interview, they just like want to make sure that this is the person that we are looking for. So that's why I mean you are not almost there, you are there, and it's just like a very small step to like the big dream. So just like after this introduction, a small brief about me. So my name is Abdelrahman Ewis. No one called me Abdelrahman even in Egypt because it's a long name. So usually they use like some nicknames like Abdu, Abadi, just like some stuff based on who will call me. But most of my friends call me by last name Ewis, so it's better. However, like here in UK, someone I think sometime or some point just like call me Lewis. So just like I'm not Lewis, I'm Oasis. So there's no L. It's just like a girl name. So yeah, it's different. So I'm from Egypt. I'm studying like the Master in Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the University of Edinburgh. Sky was talking about like the weather and storms. Uh, Sky, you're still in England. I mean, I'm here freezing in Scotland. So still like for someone coming from hot weather country and living in Scotland, it's a big difference. I mean, one day in September it was 35, 38 in Cairo, and suddenly it's 10 or 9 in Scotland. And now it's sometimes it's 2 minus whatever. However, to be honest, I like it. Like the weather is a big and huge thing, and actually, it was even one of my interview questions. I remember like the industry expert, one of the committee, he actually like took almost 3 minutes to convince me it's not like a silly thing to consider. Just like the weather, the culture, everything else is something huge just to consider as well if you are moving to UK. And after you, we are awarded with the Chevening Award. So yeah, the weather is just like it's not like maybe for most of us who already used to different weather, hot weather, warm weather, but you get used to it, don't worry. So yeah, living in Edinburgh, just like it's a great opportunity for me. I love the city. I've been traveled like to different places in UK and Scotland in particular. Like in Chevening, there's the treasure hunt items that like the competition that we have between red team and blue team. Woo-hoo. So we already like, yeah, I made it to John Ogret's, and I'm planning with some other friends to like go to another place that I can't say right now because like we have another current Cheveners and now we are just like competitive enough not to announce our plan. So the entire experience is great. I can say it's up to the expectation. And it's something that, yeah, you need to work hard for it and to put a lot of efforts, and it's worth waiting. I mean, after 7 years, yeah, it's worth waiting. So best of luck to you all. And yeah, moving to the interview tips, like I think Sky mentioned most of the things, but I will try to make it very short for me, like I've just like I did it before. Maybe my first step always is to try to absorb your essays before the interview. Read them more. This time, read them from a different perspective. It's not the same guy or the same person who already wrote the essays. Try to read them as you just like read them for the first time. Try to have like some fun, some like, change your mindset and then start reading them. Maybe in a cafe, in a club, whatever. Because most of their questions will be compared to the essays as well. So they need what they need to do is just like to elaborate on some points you already mentioned in the essays. So assessing your essays, reading your essays several times, and make sure that you believe in every point you mentioned. For example, I'm like pursuing my master in entrepreneurship and innovation. My whole experience was different startups in Egypt and in Dubai, and two of my essays were mostly about startups, entrepreneurial ecosystem, and their questions later after the introduction and what Kay mentioned was mostly, okay, so if you have been awarded this and you are in UK, how can this help you after 7 years of experience with different startups? And because like already I prepared myself for this question, I told them that the ecosystem in Egypt is still evolving, still developing, and comparing it to Scotland. And that's why just like it's important to mention like the city or the country, even like comparing England, if you're just like choosing a university in Scotland, I told them the ecosystem in Scotland is very similar to what we have in Egypt, and still it's very developed big compared to Egypt. So in this particular aspect that I can benefit from, like the fintech industry, different industry, I see myself just like participating with different entities here, like Fintech Scotland. I already did my research and I know this, oh, there's like 3 initiatives for the fintech industry in Scotland, and I need to like volunteer with some of them or participate in their events and make sure that I get like most of their activities here in Scotland. So absorbing the essays, assessing your essays, read your essays several times is very important. It's just like as you can read like as a book, or just like it's a, as you prepare yourself an exam for these essays. So yeah, maybe this is my first step. I would just like move to the second one, which is practicing your interview. And just like as this guy said, I haven't practiced with any Cheveners at all for the last time, because like I would just like maybe a bit desperate. So like, you know, I'm not practicing anymore. However, I did the second advice she told you. You don't need just like to wait for a current Chevener or ex-Chevener. Please practice with anyone who can just like give you a great advice. Maybe a coworker, maybe a friend, maybe someone have been accepted in different scholarship and different thing in life, just like he is good in work interviews. And that's what I did. It's just like I have 3 friends who working like the teaching assistant in the US. They are doing like a different career path and have been like in several mock-ups interviews with them, and it helped me a lot, because they even give me like you know, like a different point of view, which is good for you. The second thing I can say about practicing your interview, that you don't need to wait for someone to practice with. The simple thing you can use is mirror. Just like put yourself into mirror, just like sit and start talking. And you can just like record your answers and listen to them again. And you will find like a lot of areas to develop yourself. So I know this is sometimes just like a crazy or insane thing to do, but like do it a lot and it will help. Record your answers, listen to it, and then listen to them, and then develop yourself, record answers again, and do this and again and again. And checking like all the questions on Google, you would find like a lot of questions. Like, I mean, Googling all the questions, I don't think that I already had any questions out of the question that I already know before the interview, except for the weather, which was like incredibly, like for me, like at least it's incredibly weird. It's just like he asked me directly, how do you think we can just like you can like get used to the weather in Scotland? And he was just like seriously asking. I mean, like it's not for fun questions. Like he asked, and then okay, I would just like buy a heavy jacket and just like a, you know, like a, it's not, it's, you know, like this saying, it's not like only a bad weather, it's also, it's only like a bad clothes, like this thing. So yeah, I just like try to tell him the same thing. So anyway, practice your interview. Don't wait for ex-Chevener or counter Chevener. Don't waste your time. Just like practice every day by yourself, by everyone you know, best friends, co-workers, and record your answers and listen to them. The third one is your plan after getting back is very important, because Chevening, compared to any other like scholarship, Chevening is more about like the social impact, about the impact that you will leave in your country. And that's why we have this restriction of you need to come back to your home country at least for 2 years. So mainly your plan after coming back is very important. They will ask about it. They will make sure that you already have short, long, mid, any type of long-term plans. So make sure that you are very clear about your plan and make sure that you connect everything that you will do in UK to your plan. And this one is maybe connected to what Sky said, that sell yourself. Don't feel like afraid of saying I. No, say I. This one is about you. So you can just like, not like with big ego, I mean, but like you can say I a lot. I. You can say we sometimes if you have like some stuff like regarding representing team or whatever, but it's about selling yourself. So don't be afraid of saying I, and don't get modest, don't get humble. Just like, yeah, try to sell yourself as much as you can with a great balance, not just like to extreme that is just like ego and that's it. The third, I think this is 3 steps. The 4th step is about your course. So, and this is actually one of my mock-up interview step that someone like heard me talking about my course, that I was just like talking about the curriculum, about the university, about the city. I told them I did my research about Edinburgh. I love Edinburgh. I love the university. And then he told me, you didn't mention anything about the faculty staff. You didn't mention like people who just like teach you the thing, which is very important for Cheveners as well. I mean, you can do your own research about the course, everything about the course, who will teach you in this course, people who just like you want to meet there. So it's about people, it's about networking. So if you can do like more research about your course, it's a great advice. So please try to focus on your course. Try, because like there was like a big part in the interview talking about why did you choose those courses? Why did you choose like this university? They will ask you, why did you choose like UK? Do you think like master in UK will help you? So mainly start like, as you know, like backwards mapping. Start from the university to the city to the country, even the content after this. But starting from the course, you need to know the faculty staff. Try to pick 1 or 2 names of the professor that you are very interested in hearing like stuff from them later. So mention the doctor and professor name, mention like senior lecturer, mention anyone that you think, even like some alumni that you already met before. For me, it was a real story that I already attended like an alumni event in Egypt a couple of years ago. And it was great. I mean, like it was for the University of Edinburgh, and that's why I was interested in the University of Edinburgh. I mean, for my Chevening application, I already had unconditional letter from Imperial College London and UCL. And for some people, maybe those universities are better than Edinburgh. But I had my, I had my interest in Edinburgh. I had my reasons why I'm choosing Edinburgh as a city, everything else. This is about the course. And moving to the last step, it's just like you need to make sure that to be yourself. I think Sky just said it, but you need to clear your thoughts. You don't need just like to prepare your answer. Don't memorize them. Believe in your answers. Believe in your essays. This is you. So you don't need just like after the mock-up, just like be yourself, relax. I think like the night before my interview, I went to the cinema. It was a Tenet movie, I think, if someone watched it. Yeah, it was Tenet. I watched it in IMAX. I usually like cinema or watching a movie in theater, just like help me relaxing. So I watched Tenet, and then yeah, I was just like being myself. That's it. It's the last shot for me. I'm doing it. If it's like, yeah, if it's not, I will just like try something different. So yeah, that's it for me. And to you, dear. Thank you.
Thank you, Abdelrahman. It was, again, a lovely experience from applying for 7 years. Okay, this is record. Come on. We will cut this part and we will share it in a different link because it's a big hope for everyone. Because usually, I think, according to our estimation, 5,000 people get shortlisted from 160 countries. And from these 5,000 people, only 1,500 people make it. So yeah, it's a big hope actually. Thank you, Abdelrahman. So we have Anna as our third speaker for this mentorship, and then we will be answering your questions regarding the interview. Go ahead, Anna.
Hi, everybody. Thank you guys for your presentations. They were super nice. And actually, when you were talking through it, I started remembering. I was overwhelmed with a lot of memories from last year. So yeah, this was nice. So my name is Anna. I'm coming from Moldova. I'm currently doing my master's in pharmaceutical development and business management in Keele University. And you have probably never heard of this university. But what I did when I applied to Chevening was, as Wise just mentioned, you have to know your course. And when I was choosing my courses, I did not look at the university. I had no idea about the top 10 universities in the UK or top 50 or whatever. I was simply looking at the course and at what I want to do in the future and what I want to study further, because I have all my experience, all my background is in pharma. I was I did my bachelor's in pharma, then I did my another course in pharma, and I also worked in industry for most of the time. So last year has actually also a big difference from Wise. Last year was my first year applying to Chevening. And honestly, I didn't take when I applied, I did not realize how huge it is and how important it is and what it actually represented. So I've learned through my way. I've learned a lot through meeting the people, and actually the interview was also a very overwhelming step for me, because I can't say I prepared a lot. I did a bit of preparing for the last 2 days, but not a lot. So, and also because I'm coming from a scientific background, basically, it's a little bit different, because, you know, people in science, they don't know how to talk a lot if they're not in a conference, and also they don't write very well. So this was a new experience for me. This was a nice experience as well. Also, I just wanted to mention a few points that not just for the interview, but now as you have more time to prepare yourself for the future experience, I would say that it would be really helpful if you look through how the studies are conducted in the UK, because I'm sure that those can be much different from how they are conducted in your home country. And understanding your course and understanding how your experience is going to be regarding just the studies will, of course, help you a lot, not only after your interview, but also when preparing for your interview. Also, just to jump to a few of my tips, I'll elaborate a little bit more of this. But I absolutely subscribe under everything my colleagues have just mentioned. But also, I wanted to mention to the point where you have to be yourself, that don't try to seem better than you are, because if you are at this point, if you are here, you are already one of the best out there. So don't create discomfort for you, because when you are trying to seem better, you know, when you're trying to stand out a bit, this might create some discomfort when you're in an interview. And remember, this is not a job interview, so you don't have to sell yourself as a good person as well, but you have to also sell yourself as a leader, as a future leader, as a leader now. And also you have to show that you are a good communicator, that you have lots of links and people that you know in your field. And don't do too much, but also don't remember to do this, because this is truly important. Also be very polite, and because I've heard some of my fellow tuners that you know, when they get nervous, they might interrupt, or that they forget some stuff, or they forget things that are truly important. So don't be nervous, be polite. Everyone is gonna be super nice. everyone is going to be super interested in your persona and in what you did and what you're doing and what you're planning to do. So I think it's going to be perfect if you just stay true to yourself and you stay calm and nice. Also, my second tip is that you know what you want, that you have, like, even if now many things can seem like unbelievable dreams, and like you might think this will, I assure you that the biggest dreams come true and the biggest like plans are realized when you believe in them and when you see yourself that you're right there. So basically,
I think there is a trouble with Anna's internet.
Yeah. She's out. Okay, no problem. We wait for a second, maybe. Okay, I think give me a second. She's typing.
After this, we are going to have a question and answer session,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I hope everyone already prepared their questions, so you can like raise your hand later, and we're gonna like address your questions later after Anna's session, right? Or maybe is it okay to type the questions on the chat box? Yeah.
No, we prefer raising their hands, and yeah, because we can't focus on chatting. Okay, she's back, I think.
Great.
yeah, guys, I'm back. I don't know what
Yay.
happened. I got disconnected. I got thrown
Yeah.
away. But
Okay, so
make
Anna,
sure this doesn't happen during your interview. I mean, this is super important. I'm sorry.
No problem, no problem. So go ahead, Anna. I think you have one more tip, so then we will be moving to the second part. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah. Yeah, my last tip basically is about the thing, because I've talked about that you have to be yourself, but also be memorable. Basically, you have to stand out, because there will be so many. In my case, well, from Moldova, that there aren't that many students who apply to Chevening, and there are not that many who get chosen. So there are about 5 of us. So in my case, I did it probably. I did stand out in some way because they were able to remember all of us. But when in many countries the cohort is so big that if you're not memorable, like there might be a candidate who is super similar to you, and you will not stand out. So what you can do in this case is that you might show your interest not only in studying and not only in showing your capacity as a leader or like network persona who loves network, but also show your interest and knowledge in UK, in British culture, in British geography. In my case, I did know I love literature and I read a lot. So I, in my interview, actually talked about my favorite writers and about the things that I want to visit there, because they usually at the end they will ask you about that. And as you don't have to learn things by heart, but you have to truly enjoy the things that you are going to experience in the UK. So there are a lot of things there, but there are some things that will truly be very close to your heart, and that if you're also picturing yourself there visiting the British Museum or whatever is your favorite, then you for sure will get there and you'll experience that. So yeah, this was my presentation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. It was a nice explanation and experience with Chevening, especially regarding the universities. Some people, we were focusing on high universities and ranking, as now we are very tired. We can't sleep. Yeah, so yes, like that. Okay, guys, so I think Sky will be monitoring the rest of the meeting because I have an urgent stuff to do. However, our friends will be with you. You can start raising your hands, and you have 24 minutes. We can say 30 minutes. 30 minutes for asking and discussing questions with the lovely tuners. Okay, Sky, go ahead.
Okay, dear, thank you. And if you want to leave the room, you are welcome to leave the room. Okay. So with Ewis, Anna, and I, let's start the question and answer session. You may raise your hand and then address the question to one of us, or if you want to throw the question for three of us, just mention it. So let's begin with CSI. Is it the way should I pronounce your name?
Yeah, this is Shaikut Islam, so that's short from SI.
Okay.
Well, my question is, I found that couple of Cheveners, they say that, I mean, at the end of the interview, the interviewers usually ask that, do you have any questions for us? So what kind of questions, or even, I don't know if any interview doesn't have any question, but has some opinion or comments, what kind of questions or comments can be made at the end? Thank you. I mean, this is up to three of you can answer this. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your question. I'm going to start with Ewis because you're not very hard. So I think you have the answer now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like I can relate to this personally because usually in all of my work interviews, I don't say that I have any other comments or questions. So usually I say, oh no, I don't have anything. And once I think like in my first mock-up interview with one of my friends, he said, what? No, you can't do this. This is the first mistake. If they ask you, do you have any other comments or any other questions? Ask. I told him, okay, but I don't have anything to ask. I mean, just like I'm applying for 7 years. I know everything about Chevening. Why I should like to ask anything? And he told me, okay, if you don't have anything to ask, say, just like the first thing come to your mind and you can ask about it. It's just like if they have feedback for you, if they have feedback, personal feedback about like the experience, about what you said, about all the background you said, some of them, and actually I did this thing, and the industry expert, he was I think Egyptian businessman, he told me like, I think from what I heard, you need just like to do this, and actually he built it based on that I already have been awarded the Chevening, you know. He said you need just like to focus on this and this and this. So usually the best advice here is just like, don't say no, I don't have like any other comments or questions. You need to ask something, and it could be like a simple thing. It's up to you. If you don't have like any other questions, just like do my trick, ask for an advice for anything that you already told them about your background, about your education, about anything you mentioned. It's up to you. However, the most important part here is to ask. It's just like, don't say no, I don't have any other comments or questions.
Okay, Anna?
Yeah, I just want to add to that just ask anything you're truly interested in. I mean, if you are planning this to be like to spend a whole year in the UK, you can basically ask anything. Like you don't have to, for example, I didn't have a question prepared. I decided just to see how the vibe is going on my interview. And I came up with my question just right there on the spot, because I consider that, you know, if you have a question prepared, like if you ask, don't ask something too general, like don't ask how's the weather in the UK, although you might ask about their experience with the weather in the UK. You can ask, oh, have you ever been in a snowstorm with summer tires in the UK? Or I mean, something very, it might be something very general, but also something you're truly genuinely interested in. Don't ask general questions just to get over with it.
I think I agree with Ewis and Anna about the question. So the way I see the questions is actually the same as I see introduction. Introduction seems as a formality, but it's actually not. So that's the question. Based on the etiquette, actually, if we have an interview with someone, we need to let them ask questions. And if you got that opportunity, I think you need to seize it as well to, again, tell about yourself. So what I did when they asked me, do you have any questions? I asked them about, is there any Chevening, is there any network inside the Chevening cohort that is focusedly working on the post-pandemic education or building the tools for teachers? Again, I relate the questions with my mission with the Chevening. So it leaves an impression that I have clear mission, what I'm going to do with the network. I'm going to network with them and I want to do something that benefiting Chevening because I want to make a cooperation with them. So I don't expect them to have the answer because they might not know that exactly, but they still give me the answer. Like they said, yeah, there are many different people do different things inside our cohort and you can always contact the British Council and blah, 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 blah. But again, in that, opportunities which usually happen at the end, I seize it. I remind them, who am I? Okay, I give another punchline about me. So if you plan your questions, maybe you should think from that perspective. But if you want to take Anna advice, which is also good, try to see how it vibes. And if you can come up with the questions, go ahead. It's also possible. It would be dependent on the situation. Okay, I hope that's answer your question. As I. Okay, so next question maybe.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Adriana Moreno, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Well, my question is, which is the best way for connecting the essays with CV and demonstrate that I'm the right person for Chevening?
Okay, I'll give the floor to Anna first, maybe.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Yeah, it's basically to connect the essay to the CV and to your experience overall. Your essay, like, of course, it depends on the essay, but I'll just talk through examples right now because I think that would be a bit easier. When you're talking about, for example, your CV, it's just like facts. You've been there, you've done that, you've learned that, right? When we're talking about the essay, basically all the experience that you've got is also, for example, leadership experience. Part of it, it might not be everything, but part of it will come from your studies, from your place of work, from the people you've met, and from the people you learned, or from the people like who are following you in the case of leadership. Same with the network. If you are working in a huge company, or even if you're working in a small company, you still have to collaborate with people from other companies. Or if you're working in a, for example, in my case, I was working in a pharmaceutical company. I did have to collaborate with my colleagues all the time, the guys I have studied with my professors who have taught me. So basically, you just, when you're writing your essay, you have to be sure to include stuff from your past experience, which obviously will also, some will be mentioned, the official one will be mentioned in your CV. I hope this was the question and I was quite clear.
Okay, the question from Adriana was like, how do we integrate the content of our essays with the CV? Someone is asking me to repeat that question. Okay, I hope the question is clear now. Ewis, do you have any perspective regarding this question?
I think like, yeah, Anna's answer is already like clear, but maybe I just like can add a small comment. You can think, Adriana, you can think about like the CV as a table of content, and the essays is to elaborate on some points of this table of content, because as Anna said, Chevening is mostly into particular situation and particular examples that you already showed, like, you know, leadership skill, networking skill, whatever. So for example, even in my study in UK plan, as I'm choosing this course which is based on some past experiences that relate to this course for, and in my situation in leadership, it's one of the project that it was key achievement in this past experience in this particular work experience 3 years ago. So I mean, it just like, yeah, as Anna said, this is facts. So maybe it's just like points, work experiences, key achievements, education. This is your CV. In your essays, what you already did, like to integrate, is to elaborate in some stuff. So the integration between the essays and the CV is just like act like this: table of content, and then elaboration and situation and examples that shows your best skills in leadership, networking, or any other skill that Chevening is looking for. So yeah, and I mean, for interview, you don't need to do anything else. It's just like elaboration. So you will not need the CV. It just like it's a, you know, like for introduction, give like all the things as already Sky said at the beginning that you need to give them. Actually, the beginning of the interview through the introduction to show them that you are ideal candidate and you can stand out among all the other candidates.
Okay, thank you, Anna and Ewis. I think I agree with the questions. So let's move on to Shira. The floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you first for having this session. It's very useful tips and suggestions that are being provided from you. From my own question, there are actually a bit of unclear questions that are always pop out in terms of leadership question that the panel might ask you. So there are some questions that I'm not sure how to answer them, or should we answer them in a specific way? So these questions are normally like, give us an example for a time that you failed as a leader, or for example, that you face resistance in your professional or academic work. So, or for example, you faced a setback as a leader. So normally these questions are like, for example, if you honestly provided an example, then you might be highlighting a weak point in you, or a failure, or something like this. And as we all know that the Chevening is looking for influential people and leaders. So what is the best way to answer these questions? Should we provide, for instance, an example and then shift it how we were able to overcome that failure, or what would be the best techniques to answer this question? Thank you.
Okay, Ewis, the floor is yours.
Okay, I think you already answered the question. So, Tira, I mean, yeah, the interview is mainly about showing off your skills and selling yourself. However, we are humans, so it's clear that yeah, you have failed sometimes. You are not like a superwoman, you know. So mainly, what I mean here, just like if they ask you a question like this, you already answered the question. That the same thing that I will going like to tell you right now is you need to tell them, yeah, okay, I have this situation, but however, I work like very hard to overcome this situation by doing 1, 2, 3. So this is the actual thing that they are looking for, is over like all the challenges, obstacles that we will face and during your study in UK or during your plan after you come back, that you will do your best to overcome the challenge and do your best to achieve your goal. So if you already explain the questions, this is the best technique. You just like tell them after this how you will try to overcome. Even if you already failed in overcoming this challenge, I did my best in doing this, and I will do my best again just to overcome by maybe this is a lesson that I learned. This is my outcome. This is actually, it's not a failure. It's still a success because I already had more experience and I had now like a learning outcome. So yeah, that's basically. Thank you, Skya.
Yeah, I think it's a good answer from Ewis. Yeah, I would really agree with that. So showing leadership doesn't mean that you should be an angel, you should be a perfect person. Selling yourself doesn't mean that you need to be 100%, flawless individual. So if you are experience some failure in your life, you can tell them as an obstacle, and then you need to be able to explain and give more portion on step by step, things that you actually do to overcome that. It's very important for you to explain it step by step for me, because it shows that you have a strategy there. Yeah, so I overcome that with two things: one, this; two, this. And tell them as well the outcomes of this solution, and be honest. If it's not really good, at least you learn something. If it works, what are the outcomes? Like that. Okay, thank you for the question, Chira. Now I'm going to move
Can
on
I also add just, sorry, Sky.
Sure. Go ahead.
Have one more thing, because I also remember having like struggling a little bit with this question, and I have had through my work, I've had a lot of situations where the outcome wasn't very good. So basically, what I decided to do for myself is to describe step by step, just as Sky just mentioned, the situation I went through. But in the end, even if my outcome isn't the best, you can just say, well, these are the 2 things, 3 things that I have learned, and this is how I would do it now. And this way it will probably, or I'm sure that it will work. So don't lie, don't just invent situations and results that are non-existent. Just say your true situation you went through, even if the outcomes aren't very good. Just analyze it and see which points could be changed and how the situation could be made better.
Excellent. Okay, Sanjaya, the floor is yours. Sanjaya?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you. Okay, so I have 2 questions basically. One is if the panelist asks that why UK, then in that case, should I also include the why I choose the course and university, or I should wait for the next question as well? Can you just give some idea that if they ask the why UK, then how we should answer?
Okay, so you can go with the second question as well, so we can integratedly answer that, Sanjaya.
Okay, so I should include the course and university choice as well, right?
Okay, right. So maybe Anna, would you like to answer that?
Yeah. So when they're asking about why UK, I don't think you'll have to mention your courses. What you can mention, though, is the education system and the things in your field that you know are good in UK and that you are different from your experience back at home. Most of the time, they would first ask you about the UK and then continue with the like the university and course questions, or they might also ask this in then. For example, I was asked about this at the very end of my interview. So you can mention the education system, you can mention why you would enjoy the course there, but don't go too much into the detail.
Okay, thank you so much. The second question is, can you influence others' opinion? I just need to be clear on that answer. Can you please just give some idea?
Okay, Ewis?
To be honest, I didn't get your question. So if you can just like try to say it again.
Sorry, can you influence others' opinion?
Can I influence others' opinion? You mean just like like using like others' opinion in my interview? Do you mean something like this? If you can give me an example.
No, actually, this question is quite tricky for me. So, and I didn't understand properly. That's why I just asked.
Okay,
Okay,
maybe.
I got you. You mean just like if they ask you, can you influence others' opinion, or just like this manipulation? It's just like how can you change others' opinion? If I got you right, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if they ask you, I don't like the. Okay, so just like for you to know, the interview time duration is only 30 minutes, and usually out of most of the questions that you can find on Google or any other like from any other Cheveners or alumni, you will find that most of questions are just like very straightforward and tricky at the same time, like the why UK or why did you choose this course, and actually you find like, oh, they already asked like 7 or 6 questions out of like the 100 questions you read about it before. So if they already ask you about like how do you already influence others' opinion, or what is maybe your impact on others' point of view towards like a specific subject or topic, uh, you can always like mention a situation in work or during like a leadership experience when you were maybe a leader and you try to give like a positive influence or positive impact on your team. And start, because like most of these answers are about examples and situation based answers, so they don't want to listen to a vague answer that, oh, I do like this like 1 2 3 4 things. Steps are very perfect in showing this thing, but through a situation or through an example. It's just like imagining myself, like I'm asked, like you ask me this question right now, I would just like tell you, okay, so in my group work with one of my courses here now in at the University of Edinburgh, it was like about tech startup, and I had this point of view toward the thing, so I tried to influence them by showing them, guys, if we do this, there's some bad consequences, so we need to like move away from this bad consequences by doing like those stuff better than the first option. So just like explain the situation and make sure that you already have a clear output of the situation, that this is how I do it and this is how I leave a good impact.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, Anna, do you want to add something? Maybe if you got that question, what would you answer that?
I am absolutely in line with Ewis. I think you should just provide an example, explain a situation and show an example. That is the easiest thing. Like, don't overthink it. Yeah, I do absolutely agree with him. I don't even know what to add.
Yeah, in my experience, that question didn't pop up in my interview, but I read some resources mentioning that. Basically, that question is derived from the leadership and influence. So how you are as an agent of change, yeah, can actually affect or actually change the perspective of other people. So maybe now you need to reflect on your experience, how in your past career or maybe your past interaction with your friends or coworkers, the moment when you actually do something to change the status quo, like the moment you actually have an idea and how this idea is being heard and also being implemented, because in my essay, I was also like talking about how I give an example to change the old paradigm in education in my past office. So that's actually back again to the example and the context that you are dealing with. But now you need to reflect on that. Okay, so how to answer it? Find one context, one vivid example, and what you do and how you actually influence that to other people. I think that's the answer. Is that clear, Sanjaya? Thank you so much for your question. Okay, now I'm going to give the floor.
Yeah,
Okay, you're
thank
welcome.
you so much. It's very much good. Thank you.
Now I'm going to give the floor to Muskan. Is that how I should pronounce your name?
Yes, it's correct. Hello.
Hello.
I'm Muskan. First of all, thank you all of you for giving your time and helping us out with the interview. I basically had one question that I would like to direct to all of you. And that question is, what is that one thing that you think made you stand out in the interview? One thing that you felt that really made you stand out in the interview, especially because the country that I belong to, Pakistan, in our country, mostly interviews, only 4 questions are asked, the 4 essay questions. They repeat the same essay questions and you have to reply to those. So in this situation, it is really important to stand out. So I would really like to learn about your experience and what made you stand out.
Okay, thank you for the question. I think that will be related to my tips. So you can be stand out when you leave a great impression since the very first place you are interacting with the panels. That's why I give you the tips of making or crafting strong, short but selling introduction is very important. That's the first way you can actually stand out from the very first beginning. And also, if you ask me what makes me stand out, well, that would be because throughout my 4 essays, I managed to actually have a strong mission that I strongly project through my interview as well. So what is the mission, right? In my case, I would focus on the post-pandemic education, and I have a vivid example how I overcome that. And also I give additional example, something that is more than just what I wrote on the essays to the interview. That's why it becomes more convincing that I am a whole package individual that will do what I plan to do according to the essays. I think that what makes me survive the interview. What about Anna?
Thank you, Sky. And I would also like to hear it from Anna and especially Ewis because he tried 7 times and he finally got in. So that is really a very inspiring story that something made him stand out for the 7th time or the 8th time he was applying. So I would really like to hear from both of them.
I'll be short here. I'm not sure what made me stand out in my essays. I truly don't know. As Kai said, I have always considered myself to be quite average. So I don't know what made them like my essays, and what made them what made me want me see in Chevening. But I think what made me stand out during my interview are 2 things. The first one is that I have talked a lot about how much about stuff that I truly enjoyed in Britain, because I have been learning English since I was a kid. I know a lot of cultural stuff, and when they ask me stuff like what else are you going to do while you're in scholarship, I did mention like 3 or 4 things I truly wanted to do there, which are mostly cultural. I said I mentioned the museums I want to visit. I mentioned some extracurricular activities that I wanted to do. For example, I have always wanted to try Irish dancing, and that's what I said. I want to do Irish dancing after my classes. And the second thing was that I actually I was nervous inside, but I tried to stay super friendly and super nice I kept a straight line. And also another thing that I think was a plus for me was my field and my deep knowledge in my field, because I even ended up to have a discussion with the expert from medical field here in Moldova, where basically they were asking me about, you know, some new rules that are coming up, and some stuff that could happen in the future, and how do I see that if I would like to work towards those new things. So yeah, just those things. Of course, no one knows, like we will never know, but afterwards, when I was analyzing my interview, and also when you're finished with that, I don't know about you guys, but I did forget a lot, and it kept coming back to me. Yeah, so that's my answer.
Okay, for me, I'm so sorry I was disconnected from the last question, so I hope that I already it was it was clear before I already disconnected. So, okay, so I understand the question is about like standing out in the interview. How can I stand out? Okay, so for me, yeah, after 7 trials, this was the 7th. So yeah, after 7 trials, I think the main thing that I changed is I was clear. I was like super clear this time. I think, as Anna said, I mean, every time I had this answers and essays about, I'm going to do this at the long term. I didn't mention a lot of names, just like a name of entity or stuff that I want to do, and then this is I want to do like at the short term as well as just like a name of entity or whatever. However, this time the main change was to mention everything in detail, even like in the interview. I mean, oh, this time I'm clear. I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do in the UK. I mean, I even give them the name of society that I will join here at the university. I told them I'm joining those 3 societies. I'm doing this because this society has this privilege. I'm doing this because this society has exposure to the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Scotland. And then using those network and those connections later, establishing my own startup in Egypt, which I already did. I will do 1, 2, 3, mainly with the connection of those societies. So standing out means that they need someone who knows, who will just like what he will do, what she will do, like in UK, and how this person will leave this impact on his or her country later on, going back after the masters. So they need this kind of person. I have clear objective, I have clear plan, I know what I will do. Everything is clear. Mention names, mention connections, connecting the dots. Don't just like do, oh, I will do this in UK, I'll do this like I want to say, I'll go back, but okay, where's the connection? And still they need someone like who will leave even impact here in UK. So I told them, no, it's not about just like studying or just like later with the leaving impact on my country. Even here, just like I want like to participate in some volunteer stuff. I want just like to meet people as much as I can, different societies, different clubs. So yeah, that's mainly the thing. And I think the only thing that I changed in the 7th trial as well is the courses. So every time my courses were just like up to what I want to do at maybe personal level. This time it was basically on what I will do as a social impact later in Egypt. So this is very important for Chevening committee to see in you as well. So yeah, thank you.
Cool. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So Maria, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello. Thank you for this session and for your time. I would like to know, how do you manage your time between your master's program and the other activities that you're currently involved with during your Chevening scholarship? Thank you.
Do you want to ask specific person for this question?
I would like to know about the 3 of you, if that's possible. Thank you.
Okay, let's start with Anna, please.
Sorry, I had problems with my internet connection. Didn't hear the question. Can you please repeat it?
Yeah, so she wants to know how do we manage the time doing the academic and also other things in the UK.
Oh, in my case, well, I I don't even know what to say. I basically what I do is I always do my studies first. So I do my lectures. Also in the UK right now, I don't know in your universities, guys, but for us, it's been really simple because if you cannot attend, you can always connect online, and it's a kind of a hybrid system. So basically what I do most of the time is my lectures always come first. So I always try to attend all my lessons, then my assignments. So I spend like a few hours every day doing the assignments, reading. I mean, you'll be surprised how much reading needs to be done here. So how I manage that is that I just my studies come first and then everything else. We do meet a lot in my university. I'm the only tutor, so what I do is I travel very often to Manchester, which is very close, and we meet with the guys there. We do dinners and parties and stuff like that. We communicate, and also I actually had some time for some extracurricular activities within my university as well. So there is like I have not had that big of a problem with time management and managing to both interact, networking, talking to my professors, having meetings with them, and my studies.
Ewis, please.
Yeah, mostly just like a small comment to what Anna said, set your priorities. So just like for you to know when you come here, especially if you are a very active person, you want just like to experience a lot of things, visit a lot of places, enjoy a lot of activities, join societies. As I am doing here is setting priorities. The first one has to be study, of course. Second one has to be anything related to the scholarship, to Chevening. And then third, fourth, fifth, whatever. And sometimes, not sometimes, to be honest, like most of the time, uh, uh, especially if you are greedy like me and just like want to do everything, you will need just like to give up on some stuff. Like oh, the fourth one, I can't do it right now because I have already like other priorities above this one. So just like set your priorities, and then yeah, you need just like to to know that you will need some time to give up on some plans or just like to cancel them. So that's it.
Okay, for me myself, I'm a quite academic person in a sense that when I'm studying, I would like really prioritize my study to get the best result. And what happened in the last term was like I got some good score, some bad score as well. And when I tell my program officer, so basically each of us is going to be assigned to a program officer, she was like saying, you shouldn't be worried much about your academic. You should explore UK more. What does it mean? It means that the Chevening mission wants us to actually explore UK, make the most experience in the UK aside from studying. Yes, academic is important because that's the main reason, and we are having the obligation to do the best in the academic things. But Chevening also gives us the room to actually do many other things and many activities, such as traveling. I guess they always mention like travel around the UK is like, things that you have to do. Take pictures. That's why they want you to post things in the social media and stuff. Because yeah, that's their mission. It's not just a scholarship for you to achieve the academic excellence. If it's your priority, it's okay. I also hoping I can get that, right? But if it's not, you just have pass, it's okay. You can make excellence in other things. You can make lots of networks. You can have fun, experience the culture. If you are in Edinburgh or Glasgow, maybe you can do Keele dance, right, Ewis? Like the dance of the Scottish dance, yeah. I myself also joined several society in my university, and also get do some work with my professors, because in my priority for me, academic connection is important, not just the academic score, yeah, but academic connection is important. So set your priority. For managing the time, it will be okay. I mean, like at the beginning of the term, I'm struggling with reading and stuff. Wow, I have to read a lot, like every week and for every subject and stuff. But 1 week, 3 weeks after one and second 1 or 2 assignments, then we're gonna adapt naturally. So yeah, I myself have no problem with the time management because everything is just proper. And what I noticed from the UK is that they're really concerned on the well-being of every individuals. Even in the campus, we have the well-being center or something like that that will help you overcome the stress. I mentioned on the chat about winter blues. It's real. Sometimes I cry during the winter for no reason. I don't know why. I've never cried if I miss my family, for example, but I cried because of the winter blues. It's real because, yeah, the weather and stuff just very mellow here. But they have supporting system to support us. So find friends, utilize the facility, access on your campus, and you will be fine. I think that's how we manage and make the most of our time in the UK. I hope that answer.
Yes, thank you so much.
You are welcome. Okay, Mustafa. Mustafa, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay,
Thank
please.
you. Thank you for your time today. And I would like to ask you a question, and I would love to listen from all of you, especially Abdelrahman. My question is, what if the panel asks me, what will be your contribution to Chevening Global network in UK and in your home country? That is the question.
Yeah, it seems like you are interviewing us now. Okay. Ewis, maybe you can start.
Sure. So my answer, actually, they didn't ask me this one in my interview, but I was preparing, as far as I understand, or as far as I remember, sorry, all of my answer that I prepared for this question, it was real about like my activities and about my plan of what I'm going to do later as the extracurricular activities. So the contribution, and they mean by this is to make sure that you are an active member in this society, which is like a global one, like a Chevening network. So they need to know that you're gonna participate in their event. We need to know they we just like be an active member, connecting with other Cheveners. So one of the things that I told them in UK that I will make sure that I'm connecting to Cheveners in my city in Edinburgh, which I'm doing actually. Like I know people who knows like Sky as well, Asti and Pita, and a lot of people. So make sure that you answer them. They ask you this question that you're gonna do like a lot of activities with Cheveners. You make sure that you are participating in all the Chevening events. You make sure that you represent the brand, which is very important. You can't speak like out of like a spokesperson person of the brand, but like I mean, you represent a huge thing, which is Chevening. Chevening is very like prestigious. It's the most prestigious scholarship. You need to make sure that you deliver this feeling to them, and you make sure that you are a great ambassador to the brand and to the alumni later in your home country. You make sure even to gather. I mean, in Egypt, in my country, we have a problem that the alumni network in Egypt is not working as in Indonesia or any other countries. But I told them, I won't like plan to tell them because I didn't tell them. Uh, After I'm going back to Egypt, I will make sure to activate this alumni network and do like some activities, even like monthly basis or quarterly basis later. So yeah, show them that what you can do, what you just like to be sure that you are an active member in this society or in this network later. So this is my answer. Thank you, Sky.
Yep. Anna, other perspective maybe?
Yeah, so in the UK, as I said, I am the only junior in my university. So what I do is I make sure to always stay connected to all to the guys who go to other universities not that far from mine. And as for what we bring to the UK, basically, we also promote this. I don't know, I'm sure you guys do these things as well. But what we do is when communicating with local guys or with other students, we do talk about the scholarship and we do talk about the values. And I've heard many people doing this. Even like as an example, during Christmas time, we've had like party in Manchester, and there were just some guys who were randomly passing by and they saw us taking photos. They're like, "Oh my God, guys, what are you doing there? There are so many of you." And we started, everyone, basically, there wasn't one single person who didn't mention Chevening and our experience and what we're doing here and how we got here. So yeah, in UK, I think in UK it's quite easy to maintain this thing. As for when coming back home, in Moldova, there is a network, and actually when we already got selected and we had a meeting with the committee and we got our like accessories and our information from them for going to the UK, we did met about 10 or 12 of past tuners, and their experience was super nice. They talked about it. They talked about their experience. We asked our questions, what to expect. So of course, we all are going to be part of that afterwards. We all are going to promote it. We all are going to communicate and maintain like a link between us. But also, I think it's very helpful to promote it to younger like people, to those who probably are now students and who can aspire, and after like finishing their studies, working for a bit, so they know that there is this scholarship, we can apply, we can go there, we can do more studies. And also, besides all the like important aspect of Chevening, there is also the knowledge aspect. So you're not only bringing yourself back as a newly formed leader with lots and lots of connections and the hundreds of people you've met. There is also the knowledge that you bring back and that you're, of course, going to apply in your field. Thank you.
Okay, maybe elaborating further, Ewis, and also Anna's answer. For me, myself, here in Indonesia, I have the Chevening network that is quite well established. I mean, like the alumni actively do the mock interview, mentoring session and stuff. And of course, I would like to contribute to this cohort. And also what we are doing right now, what they are organized and how we are volunteering, it's also part of how we actually contribute to the global Chevening network, right? And also when we already into the cohort, Chevening will have many events that sometimes we are obliged, or in many cases we are voluntarily can join and participate to that events. And being proactively joining that events is also show that you are basically contribute by participating, right? Even in the latest Scholargram, we are also invited to organize some events together, and they will support us in a sense. So basically, there are many things that we can do to contribute into the global Chevening cohort while we are studying or after we are studying, like being active in your Chevening network or initiating some program that you think will help future candidates or help people in your area of interest. I think you can find the answer by thinking about those perspectives. I hope that answered your answer, Mustafa.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I think we are running over time. I hope Anna and Ewis still have some minutes to finish the questions. We have 2 more questions from, I'm not sure, Mohammed and also Omo Pintemi, right? Maybe we can start from Mohammed first. Please share your question. Hello? Hello, is it Lalan Mohammed? Sorry if I don't pronounce your name correctly.
Yes, Lalan Mohammed.
Okay, Lala Mohammed. Okay, please. The floor
Hello.
is yours.
I have 3 questions and I direct my questions to all of you. My first questions, when they ask about anything the essays, I should like leadership essay or networking, or why I have choose the course. I should stick to the things that I wrote in the essay or add more examples. And my second questions is when they ask about the 3 different universities that I have choose, I should talk about each of the university in the same detail, or not. I should 70% talk about my first university, 20% I should talk about second one, and 10% about third one. And my third questions is when they most of the references said that at the end of the interview you have to ask the panelist about something. What do you prefer to ask the panelist?
Okay, because we have 3 questions, I think one of us should be responsible to answer one. So maybe about adding example. Ewis, do you want to start with that?
Sure. You don't need to stick to what you already mentioned and the essays, but you need to give them the same examples with the same track. I mean, make sure that you don't have a paradox. You don't have like something is not the same. It's not delivering the same thing. So if they ask you a same like asking about like a question, it's better to relate to the situation. It's better to relate to what you already said, and they say that if they ask about like a leadership and they ask you like, or just like tell us a situation that you show off like your leadership skills, and you start talking about a situation, you can even like mention the situation that you said in the essay first very quickly, and then and elaborate like in another situation that happened later with the same maybe project, with the same entity, with the same previous experience. So you can elaborate. You don't need to stick to what you already said in the essay. However, it's better to relate somehow. Make sure that you mean what you wrote, you have written in the CV. Sorry, you have written in the essay. So yeah, this is my answer. I don't know like if you already disagree with it, like Sky or Anna, but like yeah, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anna, do you want to add something regarding the first question?
No, I absolutely agree. Yeah, you basically can elaborate, but also don't go too far away from that. Like,
yeah,
keep a straight line.
Yes, keep it straight line. I mean, like you can elaborate more. If you want to add more example, that would be okay, so long it is relevant with what you have written in your essays, right? Okay, now the third question. Should we speak about our 3 university choices proportionally? Anna.
I don't know what the rule is here, to be honest, but I think that yeah, because basically, well, it's your preference that in your essay you mention your preference, so it's first, second, and third preference, but they all should be similarly significant and similarly important. So yeah, you can emphasize the university and the course you like the most, but don't forget about the other 2 because they are similarly also very important. You also, in my case, I couldn't not attend my first course because it got canceled that year. I did not know about this when I applied. They answered me later. So basically, when they asked me about this, like I couldn't talk about the first one, which was my top, which would mean like 70% of the which would bear like 70% of the importance. So yeah, all 3 are similarly important. You can talk about your preference though, why the first one is you put an accent on it, and why do you prefer it more?
Any additional ways?
Just like a small comment. Yeah, what I agree with what Anna said. However, Maybe the only thing that could change your answer is the status right now regarding the acceptance in these universities. So I mean, in my case, I already got the unconditional letter before the interview. So my answer was specific, clear. It was almost 90% for the University of Edinburgh because, okay, I have my unconditional letter. I have already like unconditional letter from another university. However, my choice is the University of Edinburgh. I just like give them 10% or 20% why I had like different preferences, why I choose like this course in this different university. But my answer was clear that this is my choice. I have my unconditional letter. I'm ready. I'm just waiting for you to award me my the scholarship. So yeah, it's if you didn't get any unconditional letter, please just like apply the advice that Anna said to you, and you need just like to show them why these are your preferences and put it like with different portions, like with different equals stuff to each one. So yeah.
Okay, my apologies that I'm a bit distracted with the lights because yeah, this is UK weather. You will see sun and then suddenly it's cloudy and then sun again, cloudy again. So
And suddenly it's snowing and suddenly it's storm and suddenly like wind. So
yeah,
I call it like insane weather here. Just like they don't stick like it's, you know.
yeah, true.
Yeah, and the wind, I don't know about you guys, but the wind has been crazy.
True. Okay, so the last question from Lalan, that will be about, are we obliged to actually ask questions in the end of the interview? Actually, we already addressed these questions. Maybe Anna, would you like to repeat a bit about the answer about this?
Yeah, so I'll just repeat myself once again. Just ask whatever interests you the most. It might be something related to the UK, to the experience of the community. It can be anything, but it has to be a genuine question that you would be interested in. Don't ask general questions that don't even interest you or that you can Google and like there will be a million answers for that.
Yeah, ask question that interest you. Okay, so the next question from Omo Pintani. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys, for this beautiful initiative. And basically, I'm just having a single question for you all, and it's going to be, if you have been asked during the interview that with or without the Chevening scholarship, will you be able to achieve your career goals? So how do you think this should be answered?
Okay, can you repeat a bit? Because I think I lost some parts of your questions due to the internet connection.
Okay. So what I said earlier was, if you have been asked in the course of the interview by the panelists that with or without the Chevening Award, will you be able to achieve your career goals? So how do you think this should be best tackled?
With or without Chevening, are we going to be able to achieve the career goals, right? Okay, yep. Maybe I'm going to answer this question based on my perspective. It's actually a very tricky question because they want to know exactly how this Chevening circle will actually help us to achieve whatever we want to achieve, right? But for me, I would say yes, but there are some aspects that I won't be able to do without the Chevening scholarship. For example, the network, or maybe the education system in the UK, specific course that I want to study and it's only access in the UK, the specific professors that I want to work with and stuff that will only attainable if I study in the UK through the Chevening scholarship. So I'm going to be really careful in picking certain exclusive benefit of this scholarship and tell them that it's very important for me to get this to be able to achieve the career goal. That would be my answer. Anna?
Yeah, I think that, well, in your, I forgot the official name, but the essay that mentions your plans, your short-term plans and long-term plans. Basically, you already, based on that, you already have a vision of what you're going to do afterwards. So it's only up to you to like find a method how the Chevening experience can be implemented in that. And I assure you, when like in theory, it might be difficult to process it and to like have a straight vision, but in practice, it's not that difficult because you already have the means, because you already have some of the traits that you need to have. And besides applying also the academic knowledge that you're getting, you are also going to apply all that knowledge that you acquired through the experience and through communicating with people and through communicating with the, because you're going to communicate with people from different fields. It's not going to be just your field or just, you know, just like people in science or just like people in humanitarian things. So if a panelist asks you that, I think the best thing would be to remember your essay, your short-term, long-term essay, and you might also give an example on how you might apply this in that specific situation, just to make it a little bit easier for you. Or you can elaborate on just how you can see it in theory, where you can apply your knowledge.
Okay.
I can add to this question because I think like your question was more into like if they ask you if you didn't get the award, how you can still apply your plans. Because I remember that the industry expert already asked me this question. I told him my long-term career, not career plan, my long-term plan, but like in the career plan is say, he told me, okay, so you need just like to grow further your startup and do this milestone that you told us. But tell me, if you didn't get the award, how are you gonna achieve this? And to be honest, this is the trick. You need to show them that you are a strong person. You are just like capable enough to not to give up, and you will do your best to achieve your goals. And still, you need this scholarship to boost the thing. So my trick was, okay, so if I didn't get the award, I will just like, you know, I have, I'm still working. I mean, like, I'm trying right now. I'm not like, as I'm applying for Chevening, and just like I'm unemployed, you know, I'm trying my best. I'm like in 2 different jobs. I'm trying to save money for the startup. I'm trying to do this and this. Scholarship will help me to boost all of these up. However, if I didn't get it, I will do the same thing and I will make sure to achieve my goals. However, I will still apply for Chevening because I'm sure that any time that I will get the award, it will help me boost a different skill. Maybe later, maybe this year, maybe next year. So I will not give up. I will not give trying. So I mean, if they ask you this question, and I'm specifically like, because like Anna and Sky already mentioned this, like with the scholarship. I mean, without the scholarship or without getting the award, you can tell them that, yeah, you are capable enough to doing it, but you still need the scholarship to boost it up. So yeah, this will be my simple answer.
Yep, the point is that come back stronger, right? Not this year, okay, next year. Okay,
But
next.
still, there is 8th trial, 9th trial, maybe 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
also think that, you know, don't tell them something like that. Like, don't tell me, oh, if I won't get it this year, I'll
Yeah,
get it next
exactly.
year.
No, this is right.
Just-
Sorry. Just like I meant like this. Just like don't say it and
Yeah.
like clear. Oh yeah, I will just like yeah. If I don't get it, no. You just like as I said at the beginning. The main thing is just like you step into the interview that I'm there. I'm not almost there. I'm there. I already got it. You know.
Yeah.
It's like the mentality. That's the mentality in our mind. Yeah, we don't give up. Okay, but we need this scholarship to actually excel. Okay, thank you. Right, so the last question, I would like to give the floor to Rusa Abed. The floor is yours.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah. we can.
Okay. Let me just go back to the chat. Just hold for me. Okay, if the panelists have
I don't know if it's only me, but I can't
on the
hear you.
situation you have, they ask a difficult situation I came across. Do I have to research? No, just on situation. Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, it's better.
Okay. Now, if I have to be asked the question whereby they say you must tell us the difficult situation that you came across, do I have to give the result or the aftermath of that situation, or I just need to give a brief? Because sometimes you are involved in the situation, but you didn't reach the conclusion, or you didn't reach an agreement, but you have tried, you have portrayed your leadership skills. So what do you do on that?
Okay, so I might repeat the question. So basically, if we are in a difficult situation and we are still on the progress and we found no solid conclusion yet, what should we say to the panelists? Is that the question?
Yes, what will be your response now? Because on the SMART, they said you must always have the solution or the results. So now, if I don't have the result, does that mean that my leadership skill is weak, or what does it mean now?
Okay, so you are referring to the SMART formulation, right?
Yes, I'm referring to the SMART formulation. Yes.
Okay, right. Okay, if you are in a difficult situation and you come up with certain solution and it is not yet having a solid conclusion, then you just you need to tell that it's still on the progress of making making solution, you know what I mean? And then throughout the progress, you still need to have the measurement how far your solution have made the progress. And if I refer to Ewis' answers of the similar question previously, we need to also highlight how this process actually give us the learning point, give us the lesson, right? That also can be quantified as a result. Result, not like something that, should have a solid number. If you have it, that's good. But if you don't have it, you can just describe it, how far it goes. Maybe Ewis or Anna would like to add something about that.
As for me, no, it's the same answer exactly. So any failure, any situation that you couldn't manage to overcome, like a problem or issue as a leader, it's not mean that you are a bad leader or a weak leader. No, at all. It's only about the outcome. It's only about the learning outcome. It's only about like getting improved. Now I'm just like an average leader. Tomorrow I'm a better leader. So yeah, there's no there's no something called average. You are just like, you need to show them that you are the best leader. However, you have your mistakes, you have your difficulties, you have like issues, but you get every time with every situation, you got improved and you already know the learning outcome. So yeah, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah, I also agree with you guys. That's the same opinion. Nothing to add here.
Okay, is that helping, Rusa?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so we come to the end of our mentoring session today. We spent around 2 hours actually from the 90 minutes session. Thank you so much for attending today's mentorship. I hope whatever we say is useful, can be useful, or at least make you think about where to start your interview. And if you happen to did your interview or about to do your interview, good luck with that. So for the last session, if you don't mind and you are okay when your face appear on the social media, you can turn on your camera and we can take a group pictures. Only if you agree. Okay, I'm maybe gonna give you 30 seconds to actually turn on your camera. If you agree, we can take a group pictures together, but if you prefer to stay hidden, it's okay. You don't need to turn on your camera. Oh, see, now I can see the face of the next cohort, hopefully. Okay, anyone else wants to turn on the camera? Yep. Always just posted her LinkedIn on the group chat if you want to connect. We will be so happy to actually, connect with you guys. And I would like to also share the LinkedIn link. Okay. Okay, that's all? Right. Please give me the best smile of you to the camera because I'm going to take a screenshot. Okay. I'm starting to taking pictures. 1, 2, 3. Okay, wait a second. I'll make sure that I save it so I don't lose it. Okay, let me take pictures again in case any one of you wants to join. Now the lights is not good on my side. Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay, thank you so much for attending this event. Good luck for the interview. And see you next time in different occasion. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye,
Bye,
guys.
Good luck.
Best of luck.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.